Welcome to the Totum Life Science Podcast. My name is Tim Irvine. I'm here with my wife and partner in business, Dr. Stacey Irvine. And as everyone knows, we do these podcasts to try to educate our listeners and watchers about all things wellness and really give some good direction on the types of education and information that's out there. So that's the intent of this. And today we're thrilled to have Kiara and Kate LeBlanc here from BC visiting us. Kate and Kiara have worked together for a lot of years, initially with Sage Natural Wellness, amazing essential oils company, and now happily with Lifted Movement, which peeled this from your website, so correct me if you'd like to. Display-worthy home fitness equipment designed to end workout procrastination. I know we've had a conversation with you, Kiara, before. Really fascinating stuff. So welcome to the Totum Podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's
Thank you for having us.
And I'd just like to kick things off. You know, when we talked a while ago, there's a lot that goes in, or that has gone into this Lifted Movement concept. And so why don't you just start off by telling us a little bit about what brought you to this?
Yeah, I think Kate and I equally have sort of an equal portion of the pie of how this started. So I'll share my side. And that is that I had a unfortunate ski accident, and I tore my ACL. And at the time, I was actually starting an alcohol concept, and I was mid fundraising, mid making the brand, and as this happened, I start needing to rehabilitate. And when I said to my physio, "How often do I need to rehabilitate?" he said to me, "Well, where do you want to get to? Like, who do you want to be at the end of this?" And I said, "Well, I want to be able to ski again." And he said, "If you want to ski again, it's 5 times a day." And I was a bit shocked. I hadn't done anything 5 times a day, and I was fantastic at procrastinating movement. And so as that began, my life changed. And who I was changed, how I thought about things changed, my priorities changed. And at the same time, I'll segue over to Kate. She was on a hunt.
Indeed, I was, and I'd been on a hunt for some time. So it was the beginning of, we'd just come through 2020, of course, a very difficult year for everyone. And as often happens, probably for many folks, but for me, it's, New Year's, and I'm treating myself to a massage up in Whistler, and you're going through your priorities. Massage tables have that effect on me for sure. I think I can do anything. Everything becomes crystal clear.
I love that.
And I start thinking about, my age and aging and longevity, and it brings me full circle back to this room that we have at our home in Whistler that is a gym that had very little fitness equipment in it. And I'd been on this hunt to not just fill it up with things that looked like it belonged in my brother's garage.
Right.
And I kept thinking, well, I guess I just haven't taken the time to really, there has to be beautiful fitness equipment out there. And so I kept imagining what this would look like, and I'd been researching. And so that particular New Year's Day in 2021, I, met you in the relaxation room and said to you, I've got this idea. I need you to design me some fitness equipment. We know lots of manufacturers around the world. We'll just get a set made. And we'll have a set, and we'll design it, and it will be the way that we want it to be. And then we both kind of looked at each other, and I thought, I guess I'm probably not the only person that is looking.
We started telling a few friends, this is what we're going to do. And we kept it as, we're going to make this for us. And everyone that we told said, "Oh, will you make me a set?" And they all had their where they hide it story. So I hide it under my bed. I hide it under my
closet.
Couch. It's downstairs. I sometimes go down there. It's kind of cold down there. Or, well, my husband's got some stuff, and sometimes I touch it. And it was kind of alarming to me that, this is a really big barrier. And it seemed like on the cuff, I felt like we were probably just being vain. I was like, this is maybe just for us. Not everybody's going to be this.
So you headed into surgery early that year for your ACL, and this had really stayed with me. As entrepreneurs, we have all kinds of ideas, but this had really stayed with me. It seemed so easy in my mind.
Famous last words.
And so I think at some point, poor Kiara's getting ready for surgery. We're in Calgary. We're driving around 30 below, freezing streets. And I said to you, I don't want to be a CEO of another company. I don't want to go through that. But I do want to see this concept through. So I'm thinking I'm going to find someone that would be great for me to work with and do this. And so fast forward to the first day, you were able to be at All Mobile, and we went out for lunch.
On my sticks.
Yes, on your sticks. And you said to me, this is really stupid that we would be working on two different business ideas. You know that, right?
That's
in
great.
your very straightforward manner.
And as you can talk to your mother in that very straightforward manner.
Yeah,
as people who are family
husband.
members and partners,
Yes.
we get that. It's not easy, but you've worked together.
Well, it saves a lot of time.
It does save a lot of time. Like what's the outcome, and you can have that kind of really straightforward talk.
Yeah.
You don't have to be so polite all the time.
Totally.
And since that time, you have taken this on because it's just become who you are, that I actually always forget about the beginning story.
Yeah, it felt right. It felt from the moment that I said to her, look, don't go hire a CEO. This seems ridiculous. I'll do it. And I had 10 days before had gotten all my yeses on my financing for the other business. And she was like, what about the other business? And I said, this is just what's right for me right now. I can always do another business. There'll always be, a time for that. But right now, it feels like the right time in my life. And I was starting to see the impact that it had on me, what training 5 times a day would do. And when I say training, I mean sitting on a bike, and of a full 360 rotation, I could do about 5 degrees. And I just would sit there and this is all I would do. And it hurt like beyond belief. And there's kind of a way of I kept thinking to myself, who am I on the other side of this?
Right.
Who am I on the other side of this? When I can break through the scar tissue, when I can, then where am I?
Right.
And I still remember the first time that I sat fully with my sort of bum on my heels, and I cried, and I couldn't believe, it took me, I think, 7 months. And so I think going through that journey made me really passionate about doing this from a little bit of a different way. There's a lot of fitness or movement businesses out there that are starting from, and there's nothing wrong with it, but there's a lot that are, I'm at the top of the mountain, do what I'm doing, and you can be like me.
Yeah.
And I want to do this in the reverse way.
Right.
And say, I have an autoimmune condition that meant that I've been on steroids for out of the sort of 20 to 25 years old, about 3 years of that, I was on high doses of prednisone. And so me getting my body back moving, I was starting really at zero. And so through colitis flares, through knee surgeries, it's I've really had to start at below zero. And so I want to go on this journey with our community. I'm not here saying hey, look, I'm really ripped. Come use my equipment. You'll be like me. I'm there's a journey, and there's a way to incorporate movement more into our everyday, all day, not this, it needs to be this special thing that I have to stop my day and break and do this. It's what if I just
changed?
Yeah.
All those barriers that tend to derail us.
Yeah, I was sitting at our, actually in Whistler. Whistler turns out to be pivotal to this, and I was drawing and working on our weights, and it was 5:30, and we've got a built-in bar there, and I got up and I made myself a Negroni. And I kept working, and I thought to myself, I hadn't done my second training of the day. At the time I was down to 2. And I thought, if I just looked up and I saw the gym, I would have gotten up and I would have trained. But instead I made a Negroni, and now I'm not going to train.
That's really interesting, and it's a very powerful thought that came to you. I just love the idea, and we obviously believe this. You've been here working out. We believe that the journey should be the good part. Because you're spending, in your case, you were doing it 5 times a day. If that was an awful thing with, to me awful, I picture a fluorescent light right over my head, and I picture crappy equipment that doesn't inspire me, and I have to do it just because I have to. It's a very different visual than something where I've got beautiful equipment, I'm in a space that inspires me. Sometimes we talk about being around people that inspire you because that's helpful, but then the journey becomes the thing, not the outcome, not the 6-pack, not the,
It's a little bit what Lululemon did in a way. So if I think about we've all done it. You go and you think, I've worked out 3 times this week. I'm going to get back at it. I need a new outfit. And you know what? That new outfit, you enjoy putting it on. You're excited to put it on.
Yes.
And so I wanted that, you're excited to train. You see your equipment and you're motivated.
Yeah.
And so that sort of fateful 530 Negroni is going to be our hero SKU, which is now going to be a movement cart instead of a bar cart. So where you would hang your wine glasses, we're going to hang free weights. Where you'd store your bottles, you're going to store kettlebells. Everyone keeps asking if there's still space to store your bottles.
Sure.
And
Why not?
there is.
Why not?
There is. You can have it all.
It's all part of it.
Yeah, I mean, what you're talking about here, I think, Kiara, is the sustainability of what you're doing, because we've all been on binges. You know, good binges, bad binges, things that we're certain we're going to stay to. But if, you know, as humans, we really only have so much willpower. That is the truth of it. And if it's something that takes that much willpower, you know, even the worst diagnosis becomes normal at some point. And so we have to have something that is, you know, that's why probably we all manage to eat most days, because the reward is built in. You know, there's something, we don't have to push ourselves so much to do that. And so I think that's what you're talking about, is the environment and the motivation and the removing the barriers.
Yeah, and the time is one of the biggest barriers, and that's one that you, with your company, are going to be dealing with very efficiently, because the equipment is sitting at arm's reach away from you. You don't necessarily have to get in your car, drive somewhere. You don't have to change out of what you're wearing. And those things, believe it or not, well, you've all worked at very busy things, and we understand, you know, all the clients that we deal with have very busy lives, and one of our main strategies is dealing with the time constraint. And that's what I love about Lifted, is that you're removing that barrier pretty effectively. I also want to say that your thought about the beautiful equipment is definitely not a unique thought. And that's why when we first spoke and I went onto your Instagram and I looked at the pictures and I thought, oh my God, Tim and I have been talking about this for years. And this gym that we're sitting in made it to the cover of Azure magazine, which is an architectural magazine. And that's because when we first built it, I don't know how many years ago that would be.
21.
20, there you go, 21 years ago. We definitely said exactly what your thought was. I said, I want a space that inspires people, a space that they want to come to. And if you think about gyms traditionally, they weren't like that. It wasn't well designed. Nobody hired designers to think through the space and to think about, you know, what feels good and what does this piece of equipment feel like, and we've spent our whole careers doing that, except we didn't have the time to kind of step out of fitness and say, okay, how do we develop these pieces of equipment that are beautiful? We search for them.
And I think that's what was a bit shocking, is as we began into research, it was baffling to me to find the amount of people who, like you, have found beautiful spaces. You've got this exposed brick and it feels lovely in here, but you can't get around the fact that a treadmill is ugly.
Yes.
You know, you can't, like, so we see these gyms all over the world and beautiful spaces, great views.
You see hotel lobbies that would take your breath away, and then the gym is relegated to some terrible space in the basement with
and when do you want to go?
Equipment in it.
You know, and that to me is this big, like, that was a real eye opener. And then as we started to do research, we found that there was kind of this huge hole. There was two sides. So like the Chanel of weights, it exists. If you want to spend 6 figures to outfit a gym, it's out there and it's there for you.
And wait 6 months.
Yes, and wait 6 months. And if you want, you know, the Walmart of the world, or as I call them, the jelly beans, like the wrapped, you know, that exists. So both of these exist. But I'm calling us sort of the rag and bone, is one of my favorite fashion down the middle. So it's this sort of, or the Aritzia of weights. It's like, it's accessible, but it's premium.
Right.
You know, so we're not going to be in the really luxury space. I don't want you to have to
and that's
spend...
not accessible.
No.
Right? Like what percentage of the population could outfit...
Well, and even a lot of those
we couldn't
designer brands, it's like Louis Vuitton has like a 10-pound weight. It's not about outfitting a gym.
Exactly.
It's going to sit there and it's going to impress people.
Yeah.
Yes.
And truthfully, our design is actually not intended to be a first glance that you recognize it. What I want is that you walk by it and you think you've walked by a piece of furniture.
Perfect.
And you look back and you go, oh, that's fitness equipment. Not that now we're saying, hey, turn your living room into an obvious gym. Don't do that.
Agreed.
But have something in your space where you look, and on second glance, your guest coming over is like, is that fitness equipment? That's the goal.
Because I think what we've been discovering with what I've been discovering, which I would say that I really began an increased movement life last October. And I realized how much of my previous life, it was like I'm either in a phase of my life where I'm working out, or I'm running, or I'm not. And what I've discovered, I think, in the last year, really embracing ending procrastination is how limiting that is.
Right.
So it's like if I go on a long walk, or I only do 10 minutes of weights, or I go to a class once a week, it's just like keep rotating it and keep moving. And it's incredible how much our bodies want that and reward us.
It's a really smart approach, and it's one that we really want our clients to pick up on more so, because those needing to go to the gym is an impediment in itself, right? Because I have to do something very different from what I'm doing right now. Now, obviously, we are in a gym. This is our facility, so we want people to come to our gym.
And that's great. I want both.
Me too.
And this also,
We do
to me,
too.
I see this like an education hub. Like I see trainers out here, and even speaking to one of your trainers out here, and them saying, well, yeah, we're going to use heavier, bigger stuff. We're going to do a little bit different stuff in this environment. But then I still want you to have homework and go home and do this. And I think the thing that was said to me that hit me really hard and changed my mind about all this is someone who does an hour and a half of CrossFit a day and then goes and works a 9-hour accounting job is a sedentary lifestyle. And when I heard that, it was like it changed everything for me.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it, because you picture that person as being so fit.
Yes.
But general fitness incorporates many more things than your hour-and-a-half CrossFit workout. There's a mental piece to it. There's being outside in nature. There's our nutrition. There's our sleep. And that's why we have to have people doing exactly what you did, Kate, is it's not I'm on or I'm off. It's this is my new life, and how do I design it in a way that keeps me healthy, that keeps me happy, that lets me drink Negronis whenever the hell I want to.
Right. And my body can process.
And your body's able to deal with it.
I think that for me, a lot of what I consider to be fit people or things that were aspirational, I would look at that and say, well, I'm not that. And so emotionally, there would be sort of this kind of like guilt. And that's a big thing that I've let go of and said, you know what, I did what I could do today, and I feel great. And there's like little by little I'm becoming stronger. I know you talked to one of our fitness friends in Vancouver and said that I was improving my fitness, and he said, how is she gonna maintain that? And it's because it wasn't a big thing that I started doing, that it doesn't, I don't feel like I punish myself mentally in the way that I used to when I would begin programs and then stop them, or begin a class and stop it, or go to boot camp and then not go the next month, or all the dozens of things I've done in my life.
The kind of fad, really intense things.
Yeah, the thing you lie to yourself and say, I'm going to get up at 5:30 every morning and go to boot camp in Vancouver.
And I love to think of more things counting. So I know, Tim, I was saying to you earlier, like I was saying to my physio recently, my training program was just a little above, it was a few grades above where I was ready. I said, we're at grade 7 and I'm hurting myself. I'm walking away and I'm not feeling good. And I said, I want to go back to grade 3. And I said to him, and I want to incorporate a little bit more upper body than my old routine. And I noticed after he gave me my new grade 3 routine that I felt great. And I said to him, I noticed there's still not a ton of upper body going on. And he said, your job is weights, right? So you're moving samples around your office all the time, aren't you? And I said, yeah. And he said, that counts.
Totally.
I said, I'm not going to add in here. If I gave you a full upper body, by the time you play with samples and pick things up all day in your office, you're going to hurt yourself again. And it was like, just that word, that counts.
Absolutely.
It all counts, yeah. And also changing your mindset, though, too.
Right.
So that you understand that counts. So when you're saying, I'm tired and I've got to lift like 5 more boxes of weights, you're like, I can do this. And we talked about our dogs that we just got, and that counts. And being out with them and doing things with them, and even the mental connection with them, that all counts. And I love what you said about looking at the images out there of the fitness industry, and I really think we've always discouraged people from that type of thinking for the 25 years we've been in business, is that we know those people. I know the people that are the fitness models. I know the people that do all these competitive bodybuilding and all these types of things. They're our clients, they're our friends. I would never choose their life in a million years, because guess what? There is extreme disciplined eating, there is extreme workouts, there is an extreme criticism of this part of my arm looks this way and that, and to me that is not a way to live, and that's not sustainable. That is not something that you maintain. But again, the bottom line is I would never choose that life. I would never want to live that way. And I don't think 99% of people would want to live that way. And the problem is those are the images that are everywhere. It is a lot of fitness models and a lot of people that are, they get ready for the shoot. We all know how this works, and they look amazing in the shoot, and then their life goes on and things change, or they don't, whatever. But it's not something that we want to aspire to. What you're doing, in my opinion, is something that we want to aspire to be healthy, to keep moving, to do it during the day.
And I think the combination of we borrow this concept from John Berardi, who's a peer of ours. He has this dial concept. So in your life, so he was a bodybuilder for a period of time where he could spend 3 hours in the gym, eat perfectly, cook all his meals, because he had the time at that time in his life. He's got I think 3 kids, young kids. He's like, I work out for 15 minutes a day. So the dial, you have to just think about it. So do what you can do when you can do it. If you get to an 8 out of 10 where you've got lots of time, a vacation is often one of those times where you actually can do a lot more because you've got the time on vacation to do that. So give yourself the break to be able to say 15 minutes is all I can do today. And I think with your cart of equipment that's beautiful, that's sitting in the living room, you're like, all I got is 10 minutes, but it's right there. And I'm going to do my thing right now.
And I think I love the analogy of the dial, but it's always switched on. That's been the mind shift for me, exactly of what you said, of previously I would switch it on, I'd switch it off. So now I'm like, I'm in a boot camp and I did this for 6 weeks, and then and now I'm sore and I don't want to, and I
you feel terrible about yourself.
Yeah, and now I'm mad at myself.
Feel guilty.
And instead it's like I'm just keeping it switched on. So instead of asking myself, am I going to move today? It's just, what is today? And maybe today is, and we're doing a step challenge at the office right now. And it's been amazing, just like with a little friendly competition, I've gone from an average of 4,300 a day to 7,800 a day.
Amazing.
And now I notice, I'll notice at 6 o'clock if I go to sit down, and I can feel, I don't need to check my phone now. I'll be like, I'm only at about 3,000 steps. I'm going to go move.
I think that's interesting you said you don't have to check your phone, because I started kind of my increased movement last October while on vacation with girlfriends. And what we also said was that we were going to start to focus much more on how we feel than on how we look. And you've been a really good advocate for that for me as well, talking about, how is it when you move? And I find so much freedom in how much more I trust myself, how much more I trust my body. And that's not about how you look or what you fit into or don't fit into. That's way more rewarding.
My biggest reason I want to do this is, for a long time of, being in and out of, I've been everything from 90 pounds to 150 pounds. So having been all of that, and I've been an unhealthy 150 and an unhealthy 90, and you know what that means is that when the Costco order comes, your friends go, don't worry, here, I've got it. And it's I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be, every time I go to pick something up, someone in my life will say, don't hurt yourself.
Right.
And it's I want to be able to pick up a toddler, carry the Costco order in, and everyone's not you're going to hurt yourself. And usually I do. And I'm lying. I'm no, I'm good. And really I'm oh no, that didn't feel good. It's I want to feel good
and strong.
Yeah.
And that's appreciate our bodies for what they do for us. And that is another key message that our generation especially, I've been struggling with this a bit. I have a teenage daughter. We have a teenage daughter who's 16, and a bunch of our kids just went to see the Barbie movie, which I have yet to see, but I know the message is similar. And I know that my generation, my mom's generation, when I have conversations with my mom, she is 82, 82, 81.
She's over 80.
She's over 80. And her group of peers, it's still a lot about what people look like. And I used to get very angry about that because of the industry I work in, and because, you know, we're exposed to all these conversations about body positivity and all that. And then I'd go, my mom's in Saskatchewan, and I'd go back, and the most awesome people in the world, but I would be so frustrated. I'd be like, why do we have to keep talking about what so-and-so looks like and all this? And I realized it's not her fault. It's not her friend's fault. It's a generational thing. It's a thing that we've all been inundated with for so many years. And I believe that there's going to be some years of deprogramming of this. And I believe that all the things that you're talking about, and I love that when you went on your girls' trip, you all decided, right? And just the fact that you had that conversation, I think is a huge step in the right direction. So, you know, we could talk about this topic for a long time. I want to get back to the equipment. We're in a stage in our lives where one of the things that I love about Lifted is that it's beautiful, meaning it's not disposable. And equipment is made with plastics and all of these awful materials, and because it's so ugly and not well made, we break it. Like, if I could tell you how many bands we break, and they're plastic, rubber, they go in the garbage, and we buy new bands. Could you talk just a little bit about your process of making the equipment? Because I know it was a process from when we talked, and how you're sourcing things so that it's not disposable.
Yeah, so the first thing that was important to me was that we're using steel that has been, that is not virgin steel. So it's made from recycled and can be recycled. And that was really important to us. And then the quality, honestly, is for 1 year, we've been working on the quality of the paint. Because if this was going to be something that was either like the Louis Vuitton, not to diss them, but gonna be just something that sat and was pretty, is a different whole thing than something that can be crashed together.
Right.
And so we've put in quality standards that are going to mean that each weight will have been smacked together 5 times to ensure that this is not something that's just beautiful.
Right.
That it's also something that is highly functional. It was amazing to me. We did a soft launch just to sort of preview the product last year at TIFF, and the amount of big, you know, really fit men that would walk up to it, and they would almost fall when they would pick it up because it looked so pretty or nice that they wouldn't think that it was going to be heavy. And so we're really focusing on, you know, that function and design have to go together. And it turns out that that's, you know, it's taking us an extra year, and as we see it, it's worth it. But what can you pick up in your home right now and just, you know, drop on the ground and it doesn't break? Not very many things. So it has been a big process to find, to sort of have the marble and the steel, and we've done a silicone grip handle that's new, that's actually not on our website yet, but because we want it to be something that that you want to touch, that you want to pick up. And it was wild to me, the amount of people who would pick up a weight, and I would say, what's your least favorite thing about, and they would be like, I don't like holding it.
The handle.
Yeah. And
makes
so,
a big difference.
Yeah, and so I want something that you want to use. I want something that
you feel safer.
Yeah.
Also holding
You do
onto
when you
something
have a
that has
good
some
grip.
softness to it. I feel.
Yeah. Well, and my Costco problem, I did ask, you know, what can I do when I am going to carry a heavier load? And the first thing I was told was tighten your grip. Because when you tighten your grip, you're engaging your whole arm. Yeah. And so I got thinking, well, how, you know, on those weights that have the knurling, the last thing I want to do is tighten my grip. I often find myself trying to go, how loose can I make my grip while still holding this heavy thing? And instead, it's like, I want you to feel like, oh yeah, that feels nice.
Get in there.
To grip.
Yeah.
And so I would say the recycled steel combined with a paint that's not going to chip, that's not going to fall apart, marble that's not going to crack, in the way that it's installed, that was all really, really important to us. And then we're using materials like apple leather for our movement mats. Our bags are made of recycled nylon. So we're just really trying to make sure that, you know, each touch point, that if you dig a little bit deeper, you don't feel like, oh, it's beautiful, but ooh, I don't feel great about that.
Oh, thank
There's a
you
reason
for that.
for it,
It's so important.
Yeah.
It really is. I think we all have to start thinking that way. So I appreciate that
It matters, and it's hard.
Put that thought. It's hard, but it really does matter. And I think my kind of my final question for you two is, what's next? What's happening? Give us the inside scoop. What's going on at Lifted?
Yeah, what's next? Well, we're really excited because we're ramping up to, it's looking like an October official launch. We'll be at the Interior Design Show in Vancouver this end of September. And for us, that's going to be a great place to get the right eyeballs on it and just get feedback. I want to see what people who care about aesthetics, walking around, I want to see like what are their reactions. And so I would say launching at the Interior Design Show is next. Doing an official launch for us in a digital space is next. And then we're going to be looking at what does we have on our roadmap, a physical space. And we've specifically worded it as a physical space. Kate has a really long history and love of retail, and I've joined her for 10 years of that journey, and I too love retail. I love IRL. I want to be with real people. But I also, when we put that on our roadmap, we were really specific to say we don't want to define what that is. I think coming out of the pandemic, there's lots of people at retail conferences saying, oh yeah, this is what's next in retail. This is what's next in retail. And everyone that I speak to in the industry is like, we don't really know. And I don't want to pretend like we do. And I think we would be silly to guess. And so what's important to me is that we're in this sort of open-minded space of, we know we want something physical and we don't know what that is yet. And so we want to just stay really open, and I want to learn from our community as that builds and that grows, and figure out, who are they? And what do they care about, and where are they, and how can we be with them where they are? And so that might be a showroom, that might be a movement space, that might be in spaces like yours, that might be, it might be a wholesale model, it might be a retail model, it might be something we've never thought of. And I think right now we're having a lot of fun just being in that exploration of what is physical space for Lifted.
That's very exciting. And Kate, so the next massage, what's going to come out of the next massage for you?
Well, maybe what has come out of a massage is that the other thing that we've been talking about, the group of us, our small but mighty team, is the importance of raising awareness around bone density and the connection between that in like the health of particularly women, but the health of all of us, and the connection between weight bearing exercises. So there feels like a natural fit there for us. So we all went and had our bone density scans and have our sort of
your baseline.
our baselines and our visions for where we would like to be. And again, like you said, we're kind of at the bottom of the mountain and saying, come on this journey with us. So that's something that as we get our products launched, and
it
grow our community,
us.
it'll be a conversation we're in with people.
That's
and it's
great.
a conversation we're in together right now.
That's a great idea.
We've got this event idea, and this is our tagline is bring your mom. So there's all these influencer events, fitfluencers events, and if you look around, like, people are mostly 25 to 40.
Yes.
And what about mom?
Yeah.
That's actually where the bone density is declining the fastest.
Yes.
And so we've got this idea, and we want to somehow bring physical space, weight bearing, and the education around this all together, and have a sort of bring your mom. It won't just be fitfluencers, but people who care, but now don't just care for you, also care for mom.
Right. Let's get the moms in this space right here.
Yes. Right. Yes.
That's right.
That's great.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's been a thrill chatting with you both. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, this has been great. Thank you. And congratulations on what you've created here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll be doing some work together with you, because we love what you're doing. We love where it comes from. When we first talked, Kiara, it was like, we come from the same place. The passion's there. The reasons behind it are solid. They're science-based. And they're really the right thing for most people to do.
And also, we're not very good at retail, so we're gonna be calling you.
Great. I'm here
saying,
for
like,
it.
why are we so bad at this?
Well, we can swap expertise then.
That'd be
Awesome.
fabulous.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. All right, outgoing music.